everyone, Essie Smith here, and I'd like to welcome you to another Throwback Thursday. I'm back in my messy office. Haven't had time to clean it up yet, but it's on my list of things to do. I'm going to be getting ready for my trip to North Carolina and the book signing there in Sparta. So I'm very excited about that, and I'll be talking a little bit more about it in just a moment. Right now, I'd like to say again, thank you for everyone for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you popping in. Hi, Angela. It's nice to know that I'm not the only one that's just, home on a Thursday night. Actually, I missed tonight. My grandson was doing an award ceremony, but they only had room for 2 people, so I pushed Pop to go with my daughter to the award ceremony. He's doing really well, and I'm very, very proud of him. As you know, Edge of Insanity made the USA Today bestseller list, and I was super excited about that. Again, I couldn't do any of this without my readers and without people enjoying the stories as much as I do. So I want to again say a huge, huge thank you to everyone. And if you know of anybody who might enjoy the stories, please make sure that you share it with them. And if you haven't written a review, I'd really appreciate if you could do that as well. I'm one of the few authors. It's really interesting. If you go in, you can actually take a look and you can see the verified purchases. So these are, sometimes you'll see thousands and thousands of reviews that an author has. But if you actually go in and see how many are verified purchases, they're usually just a small fraction. So for me, I like to keep things honest. I'm very much into doing it above board, what they call white hat. And so one of the things that I try to do is, just make sure that there's no question about whether my books, the ratings for my books, are the ratings that are honestly given to them. So if you can, I'd appreciate it if you could go post a review wherever you purchase the book. It really does really help an author. Another thing, I'll say hi to everybody in just a minute. I'm trying to keep semi-organized today. I'm one of those, I even wrote me a note. Trying to keep me organized. That's the big word. It's the word try, T-R-Y. Now, this past week, I've been very, very fortunate. I had Twin Dragon's Destiny come out. I'm super excited about that story because that one came with a lot of personal experience in it. And it's interesting, I was chatting with one of the readers about it because she says, it sounded a little bit different from what you normally write. And, good evening. So one of the things that is a little bit different about Twin Dragon's Destiny is there's still some action and adventure, but most of it is more of the internal of trying to develop and have that relationship. And that's one of the things that I really liked about it, was that they're characters that I fell in love with, from the dogs, Moonshine and Rum, had their own personality, and the fact that the reason they got their name came from her grandmother and her grandfather, mostly her grandfather. And, you had that relationship with her, but it gave you a good insight into Delilah's sense of humor, and the things that she held of value, working on her grandparents' old house, which is where she wanted to live because it had so many memories for her. One of the things that somebody said was, that it was different, and I actually wrote it based on a lot of different places and different events in my life. And part of it came from all of the snow that was mentioned in the storm, or in the story, was from a recent experience where I was up in North Carolina and they had a huge snowstorm come through. And I mean, just watching the snow piling up and the big fat flakes coming down, and at times you couldn't see anything. It was just like totally white. And for somebody that doesn't live where it snows, living in South Florida, It was such a novel experience. And it's funny, I'm originally from Montana, so it's not like I'm not familiar with what snow can be like, although I moved when I was very, very young. It's not that I'm not familiar with it, it's just I've spent more time in the, Florida, where we don't have the snow, so it is a novelty. And I thought it was such a cool idea to incorporate that into the story. And then part of the other parts that came from it, when I talked about the old Model T shed and the corn crib and the chicken coop, and all of this came from when I was 13. My parents decided to move from a large city to a little bitty town in another state. And the house that they bought was built at the turn of the century and needed a lot of work. A lot of work. It was one of those old houses, where they stuffed newspapers. In fact, when we tore out to redo the kitchen, and my mom and I were the ones in there with crowbars doing this, tearing the walls down. Old letters and newspapers, because that's what they used to insulate the walls with, fell out. And one of the newspapers that fell out was a 1918 paper declaring the end of the First World War. So that shows you the age of this house. And so a lot of that played into Twin Dragon's destiny. But also, you're talking about a city girl, just teenager coming in. I'm trying to deal with, okay, we're going from this huge city down to this little bitty town that doesn't even have a traffic light. And now I go out in the backyard, and there's an old Model T shed that's packed to the gills, and it's the only thing we found out when we moved everything out. The shed fell down, but it was kind of leaning sideways. And then there was the old chicken coop, and there was an outhouse in the middle of the backyard with an old Sears catalog still in it. And I was just like, oh my God, I've fallen into an alternate reality, And you go further, and then there was the corn crib. So for me, all of this, there was the old smokehouse, and so all of this was just so new. And then it was really interesting is this town had a small library, and I actually worked in that small library. It was only open a couple of days a week, but I actually worked in it. So a lot of, with Delilah working in the small library and, the small town and knowing people, and, the checkout was the little index cards, and they just write the name and the name of the book down, because that's how tiny it was. So I brought a lot of my own background into Delilah and the twins' story. So for me, it had that personal touch. And of course, the dogs, I had 2 dogs at the time. And you'll see themes with animals throughout most of my stories, because animals are such an important part to, I think, a person's life. Most of us have one. Even now, I have Pia, which I post photos of. So if you ever wonder, where I get some of my ideas and some of the scenes and stuff, it's usually from different periods in my life. One of the other things that came about was, and this actually connected with another reader, was she said, when I tied the rope from the shed to the house so that Delilah could hang on to it as she went back and forth. And that actually came from a story that my mom told us when we were living in Montana. She worked at the school, and the school was right across the street from our house. And so during the winter, when the school was closed, somebody had to go feed all of the teachers' pets that were left there. And so, because my mom lived the closest, that was basically her job. And so what she would do is she tied a rope from the front banister of the house to the front door of the school, and she would have to hold on to that, because even that short distance right across the street, when you're in a blizzard, you can't see anything. And it was high winds and everything else where we live. So that's, again, that experience is what I bring into the stories. And I think it makes it more realistic. You can relate to it. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about when the snow is almost so dry it's powdery, or when it's so cold your teeth hurt. And that's things that I like to bring in. Many of the places that I mentioned, Ophelia's is a real place in Sparta. So I'm trying to bring in some actual real life places. I've done that before in Voyage of the Defiance when I talked about Archie's and the jetty and all of that. All of those are real places, so you could actually visit these places and go to them. So let me take a moment, and I'm going to go back to the top and say hello to everyone. Hello, Norel. Hello, Angela again. Let's see. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Kim. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Lindsay. Tell your mom I said hello. I miss her. Hi, Emma. Hi, Krista. So when you look at stories, I think part of bringing in your own personal background helps make you feel like you're there, because I can remember what these places felt like, and I mean the smell, the feel, the astonishment, and you bring that into your stories, and it actually makes it more three-dimensional for not only me but for the readers. Hi, Danny. So if you don't mind, and if you enjoyed Twin Dragon's Destiny, please make sure that you post a review for me if you don't mind. And if you really enjoyed it, please make sure that you share it with other people. The next story in that series will be Anna Katira's story. I knew that I had to write it, and it's really funny because I don't want to give any spoilers away. Krista says she just finished it, Twin Dragons. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but there is a part in there that, as I wrote the book, I realized why I've kind of procrastinated on writing the Dark Princess Prize. And it's because Samara, and it's all coming together. And you would have seen a scene in there where Adelar and Samara are kind of like facing off. And so we're going to have what happened and how they came to be here and their story. So that's going to be coming very, very soon, because I realize I needed to have all of these pieces in place so that their stories would make sense. Hi, Cecilia. So yes, there's going to be more in the Crisian series as well, and more in the Seraphim series, which I've already mentioned that. So, but for those that did not hear, I am going to be writing in the Pets in Space 3 anthology this year. The books will go on pre-order on July 20th, I believe, and they come out October 9th. And expect to see Heart of the Cat, which is going to be the third book in the Seraphim. And that one has got, don't let me forget, I've got to tell you something else. But anyway, you're going to be seeing some little Easter eggs in that. And I've noticed, maybe subconsciously I was doing it, but if you've been reading my books, you'll see that I put like this little Easter egg here and this little Easter egg here. And by Easter egg, what I mean, there's like a little tie-in here and a little glimpse of something there that relates to another series. And that brings me into the Sea Witch's Redemption. I have to say that I think that it's one of the best books that I've written. The Sea Witch Magna's story just turned out phenomenal. I had, started the series and wrote the short stories, but the short stories do nothing compared to what the full-length book does. And I have to say, her story really, to me, it just really connected. And I think it's one of the best ones that I've written. and I'm very, very proud of it. The Sea Witch's Redemption is the fourth book in the Seven Kingdoms series. It does tell about Magna, and not everything is solved yet, but she, that's her story, and you're going to see a little Easter egg. I'm not going to tell you what's in it because I want you to see who can pick it out. It's just one of those little quirky moments that see if you can tie in. I've fallen in love with that entire world, and the characters are very, very vivid. They're very three-dimensional, and the humor. I think that's one of the things that really struck me was, Magna. She's been through a lot, and she's not going to be going, feel sorry for me. She's like, you know what? I've been through hell. I don't have to answer to anyone anymore. And I like that kind of personality. I like the fact that she says, this happened. It wasn't my fault. I'm not going to make, if you want to punish me for it, fine. But let me tell you what, I've been through enough. I'm not going to beat myself up anymore. So I think seeing that in Magna was very, very refreshing. And there is actually a quote in there that I'm going to be sharing because I thought it was very, very powerful and important, something that people can relate to. And I'll get that out because I want to put it in a nice graphic because it really, it was just one of those moments that you just could resonate it inside you and made you feel better, bigger, and stronger. And it gets to the point where you're like, you know what? Everyone screws up. It's okay to screw up because that's how you learn. What's not okay is if somebody wants you to stand over there and keep beating yourself. That's when it becomes their problem, not yours. And I like the fact that Magna sees that. So, anyway, I'm hoping that you're really, really going to enjoy that. I'm going to read you a small clip from The Sea Witch's Redemption. Alright, to give you an idea of what's going on, they're all sitting around the dining room table. And Magna had just been out on the boat with Gabe. So, Gabe said, you saved a well calf today, Cain asked. Yes, his mother was very upset. She had even warned him to stay away from the net, she said with a wave of her fork. He really shouldn't have snuck away from her. It was Ross's net. He said it was stolen, Gabe said, his lips twisting in disbelief. So, the whales told you that the calf snuck away from his mother? Cain asked, enjoying watching her eat as much as he was listening to her. She nodded, her mouth full and her plate almost empty. With a sigh, she picked up a piece of shrimp. She was hungrier than she realized. Yes, she mumbled around the food in her mouth. The leader of the pod was concerned that the others might get tangled. He wasn't very happy with you humans. I'm sure he wasn't, Cain chuckled ruefully, glancing at where Gabe was sitting quietly. He also said his species was thinking about banding together to do something about you land creatures' habit of making the water a mess, she replied casually with a twinkle in her eyes. Cain leaned forward. He really said that? He asked with an incredulous tone. Magna burst out laughing. No, not really. I could see the evidence of your pollution in my swim. You should see your face, she said with a giggle. I'll show you my face, Cain growled as he pushed back his chair. Her squeal of delight rang through the room as Cain came around the table and she dropped her fork and slid out of her chair. Racing to escape, she made it as far as the living room before he scooped her up in his arms. You looked so funny, Magna laughed, feeling lighthearted and young again. Yeah, well, take this, Cain teased, tickling her sides. Oh no, not fair, she gasped. How about this? Cain asked, his voice deepening. She opened for him the moment his lips touched hers. The combination of everything that had happened melted into this one moment. She wanted him. She wanted Gabe. She wanted something that she could hold on to and never let go. So that is a small scene from The Sea Witch's Redemption. And I hope that you enjoyed it. There's a lot more to the story, and the story just kept going on and on and on and on and on. So I really do hope that you enjoy it as much as I have. I'm glad I saw Karen. Hi, Karen. Hi, Linda. One of the things I wanted to say to Karen, I believe, was the one that once asked me about, will the adult dragons will I ever show them interacting with their kids? And so if you noticed in Twin Dragons Destiny, there's a scene where they're in the garden, and you actually have the adult dragons interacting with the draglings. And I wrote that with Karen in mind. So I want Karen to know that I do pay attention to you. Okay, I want to go back and I want to say hi to Pat. Good morning again, Linda. I have some of my Australia readers coming online. Hi, Isabella. And hello, Angela Charles. I wanted to make sure, and I forgot to write that in my notes, but that was a really important part for me in Twin Dragons Destiny, was to add that interaction. And I wanted the twin dragons to see this part where the dragons were interacting with their children, and both as in their human type form, but also in their dragon form. And then for them to see Creon and, with his twins. And I thought that was extremely important and helped them understand the potential of what they could lose if they weren't careful. And so it was that family interaction and that connection that really made a difference. And the fact that you have these women who were not in the least bit intimidated. They have grown up. The twins grew up with, people being so afraid of them. And yet, for these human like Kara and Abby and Trisha and Carmen and all of them, it was just normal. They don't see anything wrong with it. And again, that helped give the twin dragons a better understanding, or at least an idea, a hope of what they would one day find when they finally got to meet their true mate. So a lot of things came together in Twin Dragons Destiny, but there's still a lot more stories to tell, and a lot of them was, well, Linda, I'm not telling you too much, so I'm being real careful. I'm not giving too many spoilers out, because Linda says she hasn't had any peace to read it yet. So I'm going to be quiet about anything else on it. So if you haven't already, take a look at The Sea Witch's Redemption. It's going to be coming out May 8th. The audiobook for it is coming out July 10th, I think. I need to double check that. I think it's July 10th. I got the actual confirmation date on the audiobook for that one. And I'll be working on the next story, which will be Ruth and the King of the Giants. You also get to see a little bit more of Ruth and Ross. So Ruth's story will be next, and then I'll have Ross's story out. I'm also working on the third book of the Project Lisi series. Survivor Skills is Sergei's story. And Sergei was kind of the bad boy. He is a Russian spy, and he just has a really great personality. He's one of those bad guys that you have to fall in love with. So I'm really enjoying his story. LaRue is a freighter captain, and she has her own freighter, and but she's also trying to earn enough credits. So there's a lot of stuff going on in that story, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you as I get it done. And then the next story after that, of course, will be, let's see, I've got the next story will be Ruth and the King of the Giants, and you'll have Dust, the second book in Dust, coming out. That one I'm writing. I know a lot of my adult readers may not be reading that one, but I have a lot of young adult. I do. My son's in his 30s, and he loves the story. But the romance is growing. Dust is getting older. Sammy is getting prettier for him. And so there's a lot going on in that story as well. And then, of course, I've got Core's Attack. No, I have not forgotten Core. I have Core's Attack and Saving Runt. So that's going to finish out this part of the year. And then I can start focusing on the summer, late summer and fall. Talking about summer, some of the things that are coming up, I have May 5th, I'm doing Lemons to Lemonade in Sparta, North Carolina. That one is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a combination, almost like a TED Talk and a book signing, and just a chance for me to hang out with readers in a much more informal setting, which I think is fun. I like spending more the quiet personal time. You know, when you go to a lot of the bigger book signings, you're kind of pushed and rushed to go through. And so for me, this is a lot more laid back, and it gives me time to spend with the readers. Then in August 9th through the 12th, in Orlando, Florida, is the Indie Book Fest. I attended that 2 years ago. I didn't get to go last year because I went to Australia, which, well, sorry. You guys will just have to skip a year because I'm going to Australia. So anyway, I'm going to be at the Indie Book Fest in Orlando, August 9th through the 12th. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. It was a lot of fun. The first time I attended it was during a hurricane. Literally, it was a hurricane. And I was amazed at how many people attended. And one of the things I did was I sponsored a room, and I did centers where I brought all this stuff that I had, and we made stuff. And readers had a lot of fun. There was a lot of, because of the hurricane, a lot of dads and families came. So the dads and the kids absolutely adored the room because they got to sit in there and make all kinds of stuff, while the moms were doing, the book signing and doing their romance stuff. So there was a lot going on, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well this year goes. I know it's going to be fabulous. We have some really great authors that are going to be there. And so if you get a chance, check out both the Sparta event, that's May 5th, and the Indie Book Fest in Orlando, Florida, August 9th through the 12th. So basically, I think I've gone over most of the stuff I was going to talk about tonight. I'd like to go by, I'd like to say hi to Paul. Paul, if you're still here, I don't know I hope you don't get upset with me, but I'm going to kind of share. Paul is one of my narrators. He's my primary narrator, and he does an absolutely fabulous job. So if you want to know when an audiobook is coming out, talk to Paul, because you can ask him, and then you can let him know how much you love his work. Karen asked, is Core's Attack out end of May? I've actually moved it back, so it's going to be probably either the end of June or first part of July is when Core's Attack will be out. I'm probably going to do Core and Runt in the same month. So one will be at the beginning of the month and one will be at the end. This way I don't have a nervous breakdown in between trying to get everything written. Angela says, I'm so ready for Anna Katira's book. She really does need love. And I agree. Isabella says, I need more of the Zions. The Zions are coming. I haven't forgotten them. Linda says she's loving the extended versions of the Seven Kingdoms. It's funny because there's been a lot of, people have been asking me about Manakota from my Spirit Past. They've asked me about Dala from my second chance. And then I won't even get into, of course, Kor and Runt and the Seraphim and the Cruzian and Jarman's Jane Doe. I haven't forgot about Jarman either. Jarman's on the list this year. So I have, after I get done with the list that I gave you, the second half of the year is going to be devoted to doing Adelar's story, Rorik's story, and Jarman's story. Those are going to be my top 3 priorities. So expect them this fall. And then I'm going to also try and work on the next, the third book and the Spirit Pass and Dala's story, because Dala's story has been playing over and over in my head, you know, since I finished Rune. And then, of course, I'll be finishing up all of the Seven Kingdoms stories as well. So I have a lot of writing to do. Narelle confirmed, because I did tell her, Sea Witch's Redemption will be released on audiobook July 10th. So, I would love, Emma says, I need to come to Scotland. We actually came to Scotland a couple of years ago, and I would love to come back. Kor's is July 10th, so you're going to get the Sea Witch's Redemption and Kor's Attack, both. I'm sorry, Karen. I'm trying. Paul shared with everyone you can like David Brennan's page and get in touch with him there. So David Brennan is the narrator for all of my amazing Dragon Lord series. The Seraphim, the Seven Kingdoms series. So he's been doing all of those. So make sure. Isabella says, Paul David is confusing me with all the names. You know he's my favorite. Tanya says, no nervous breakdown. It's funny, we went and saw a talk by an actress who portrayed Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And she was, one of the things she said, and the thing was so funny, she says, you know what? She says, I had a nervous breakdown, and it was so good, I had a second one. I think everybody should try one at least once. Twice is good, though. And I just burst out laughing, because I was like, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Norelle is picking on me. She's saying, Jarman. And yes, if you join Readers of S.C. Smith, you'll get to see Jarman's book cover, which I did reveal there. That was one of the things that I know when I'm getting close to writing a book, because then I start getting the book covers made. And it's such an inspiration for me, because when I work on a book cover, one of the things I do, for me, it helps tell a story. It's a part of the story. And so I try to find, a lot of times it's the look in the eyes. It could be the face, but definitely the look in the eyes. And then the background is very, very important to me, because it's part of, telling what the story is about. And then when I write the blurb, one of the things that I did, they've got all kinds of different ideas for writing one. But for me, a blurb is a part of a story. It's like a very short, condensed, but even more than that, it's almost like the lyrics to a song. And it gives you just enough that it leaves you craving more. And that's the way when I write a blurb, I try to do it so that it tells you what the story's about without giving you everything. It makes you want to know more about what the story is. So hopefully it's working. I don't know if it does or not, but I know it works for me. Tanya says, exciting, can't wait. Karen, I think you have a shovel fetish. And I do apologize that it does, on an average, it would normally take me about 45 days to write about 72,000 plus word story. So you're talking 300 pages. and some are a little bit longer. Not often are they shorter. I often tend to also write the novellas because I'll get an idea and it's like, okay, I've got to write this story right now, so I do. And so I tend to get distracted, but trust me, all of the stories will come. It may take a little while, but they will come. The Project Lisi series, yes, and the Seven Kingdoms. Paul/David is reminding me of all of the ones. Severine is with Norelle. She says she wants Jarman. Hi, Jessie. Hugs to your hubby. Isabel, okay, now I'm going to have everybody going, Jarman, Jarman. Norelle posted, and if you look down below, Norelle posted David's Facebook page, so make sure that you like him and let him know how much you love his stories, because we want to make sure that he knows it so that he says, yes, I'm going to do her stories. I know I've been trying to keep him in there. Hi, Sarah Kate. Celia says, I love to read the Seraphins. I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be writing Heart of the Cat, which there's going to be a major Easter egg in there. So I'm going to see who can find that Easter egg. I may have to do like a prize for it. Maybe that's what I could do, is I could actually do some prizes for some of the little Easter eggs that I've hidden throughout the stories. Karen says, forget the shovels. She says, I'll take pickaxe. Handles are better and easier to weld. Paul reminded me, the Alliance as well. And he is currently working on Edge of Insanity. And maybe he can give us an idea of his progress on that. Jessie says, patience is highly overrated. I'm looking forward to writing Cora's story as well, because Avery, you just don't mess with that girl. Woo! Avery is kick-ass bad. And one of the things I'm thinking with Jessie was going, Easter eggs, prizes, they're so, the way I've done them, I mean, even in the coloring book, if you were to look through the coloring book, through some of the images that I had the artist do, I had him put little Easter eggs in there. And it's just one of those things, it's like, she had that in this book, or, oh my God, I didn't even see this character hidden here. And that's some of the fun part, and part of my sense of humor. Paul, Isabella wants to know, the audio is coming right soon. And Donna wants the Lords of Cassius, again. That's going to be, the next book in that one is going to be Jarman's Jane Doe. And Karen, thank you, Karen. And Jessie says, you do good stuff for giveaways. Well, if you're going to give something away, you might as well make sure that you give something good. And that's pretty much anything. It was funny. One of the things that we were talking about, who was I talking? I was talking to someone today, actually about the writing and stuff. And I said, sometimes I get so excited about the stories that, I say, yeah, I'm going to write this one, and I start writing it, and then I get another one. But one of the things is that I never shortchange the books. I always make sure that the characters are, they tell their story. And if it means staying up all night, then I stay up all night. But I'm not going to shortchange the characters. I'm not going to shortchange myself. And I'm definitely not going to shortchange the readers by writing a story that doesn't live up to what it should be. Now, is every book going to be for every person? No. Is every series going to be for every person? No. I understand that. I'm the same way. There's some book authors that I love certain ones of their series, and other ones I'm not that thrilled about. But you know what? Sometimes I've gone back and I've reread the ones I didn't like, and I thought, dang, why didn't I like this one? And it's just like eating broccoli. You know, I didn't like broccoli before, or spinach, and now I love them. So taste change as you change, and I think that's important. So let me give you, and Donna, just to update you, yes, Pour and Runt. There's going to be 2 out for Cosmos Gateway. So Paul gave an update. He says Edge is in recording along with 2 non-fictions and a space opera and a business motivational thing. Also, APAC conference at the end of the month. I'm up for an Audi. Yay! So I have to be at the gala for that. My fingers are crossed that you get it, because you definitely deserve it. Linda said, Gleacy's is like that for me. Like it, but don't love it. And I knew that was going to be the case, because the Gleacy series is what I call a more grounded sci-fi. And it doesn't have the fantasy features. It still has some elements, but it doesn't have the fantasy features that some of my others do. But for me, there's a lot of the fascination with the what-ifs out there, and at the beginning, the places that I've been. And listening a lot more to my hubby, so I think a lot more of the technical stuff is the stuff that he's talking to me now about. I'll have to share with you guys the observatory that he's built. He's been working on an observatory for the past year. And so where is he right now? He's outside. So you guys are going to be getting more photos soon. He's been doing what they call narrowband photography. And yesterday he actually showed me in the middle of the day, I got to see Venus. And then this morning he had Mercury up so that I could actually see Mercury. And then we were looking, of course, at the moon during the day. So these are normally things that you don't really think about, being able to see planets in the middle of the day. But using the narrowband focus and the way he's got the telescope set up now, we can actually visually see some of the planets and stuff during the daylight hours. So Linda, just give the Gleacy series a chance. And if you don't like it, I totally understand. Like I said, it is a more grounded sci-fi. I used a little bit more technical talk in it. It has a lot of action in it, though. So there's a lot of action and adventure. But the characters, I think it's the interaction between the characters as well. I really like just the relationship that they have. And that's one of the things that pull me. I've had other people who didn't like the Second Chance series, and then others that aren't into the westerns, especially Western time travel. So, but because of my eclectic taste, I tend to write the things that I also find fascinating. So I'm trying to behave, but there'll be a few outliers there. So just be patient with me. Jessie says she sees my books in fantasy, sci-fi, and adventure categories. And Linda said, I grew up reading sci-fi by the bucket load, so probably just a bit ready for a change. And I think that's the difference, is it is more probably of the grounded sci-fi. So Jessie says she sees my stuff in the fantasy, sci-fi, and adventure categories, which is a good thing. It's been very difficult trying, again, to get my name out there with, there's a lot of KU books now. And unfortunately, they mix KU, which are borrowed books, to the non-borrowed books. And we kind of get pushed down. So it's a little harder now to get our names out there, but we just keep digging, you know, keep trying. Yes, he's really excited. He's doing what they call M51. I'm talking to Linda right now. She says she can't wait to see some more of Steve's photos. He's doing what's known as M51 right now. And I actually showed a photo of that one. It's the two spiral galaxies, one large and one small. And they're actually going to be merging into each other. And it's what our galaxy and Andromeda are supposed to do in a few billion years. We don't have to worry about it in our lifetime. But it's really interesting to watch, and you can see this. And the way he's doing the photography, he's taking like 4 to 5 times more because we're in a light polluted area. And so he has to take a lot more, but he'll get a lot more definition. So once he gets the processing done, I keep bugging him, "Are you done yet?" He's like, "Not yet." But as soon as he gets done, and he'll be able to take more photos here, even during things like the full moon. So I'll be able to share a lot more photos with you. Let's see. Karen says, dig a big hole and sit in it. So Linda says, I will read them all as I love your stuff, but I think the dragons and cats have my heart. Love the Alliance and Spirit Pass, so no one series of ours is all that bad. And Tanya says, goodness gracious, I've got to go cook. I had lunch today and I'm like still stuffed from it, so Steve was on his own. Jesse wants to know, what am I reading right now? Actually, I'm not reading anything. I'm trying to catch up on, well, I won't say I'm not reading anything. But most of the stuff I'm reading is the technical. It's learning stuff and all the changes that are going on. So right now I'm in the process of feeding my mind with all the dry, boring stuff. So I need to switch over because there's a few authors that have had a couple of new releases that I want to read. Linda says, I use KU, but buy mine. Thank you, Linda. Donna says, what happened to the ones who were in Cassius of the Frenchman and the other guy? That's going to be, you're going to see them again, Donna, in Jarman's Jane Doe. And that one is coming out this fall, I promise, because I have the cover. And I did reveal it on Readers of S.E. Smith. Sandy says, love the Gleacies and Cosmic series as well as all the others. Will Jarman's Jane Doe? Yes, it will be. I was just saying that. Jarman's was one of those that, his story, I can tell you, you're going to need a couple of boxes of tissues for both the tears and the laughter. So you're going to be crying both ways with that one. I know I'm going to be ugly crying when I write that one because there's going to be some pretty emotional scenes in it. But then, of course, you've got the 2 Frenchmen and the 2 robots, so you know there's going to be a lot of laughter in it as well. Does he do time-lapse photography? We have done some time-lapse photography. One of the things that he's been working, actually he did with the rocket launches. He's actually got where it's like a 15-minute exposure where he's done that. One of the other things he's going to be working on is planetary photography. And to do that, you have to do a completely different setup with when you're doing planets. And so that one you actually do basically thousands of photos and then stack them together. It's almost like making a movie. And then you have to take all of those photos and put them together. I'm learning an awful lot about astrophotography and all of the different parts of the solar system, thanks to Steve. Donna says, thank you. I'm an old lady, but I'm getting in your stories. Thank you, Donna. I think we're only as old as our bodies say we're old, but in my mind, I'm still like 16. And hopefully I'll stay that way. Karen says, does Jane Doe get a pickaxe handle? No, but the two Frenchmen might. And Jarman's going to be the one holding it. Jesse says, go Norrell. Jarman, to me, is the one that should tie in to several series. It does. And I think you're going to be surprised at, like I said, wait till you read The Sea Witch's Redemption. And I want to, like I said, I can't wait to see who picks out the Easter egg I hidden in it. Donna says that was supposed to say, get lost in your stories. Well, one of the things that happens is I get lost in my stories as well, which I think is a good thing, because one of the things I do is when I write, I actually highlight it, and then I listen to it being read back to me. And I know if I'm writing and then I listen to it, and if I can get pulled away into the story, even listening to this monotone computer voice, it really makes a huge, huge difference. And I can give you guys a quick example of it. Let's see. I'm going to do something that doesn't turn me bright red. Ooh, okay, I'll do this part. And I'll let you guys listen to it. It may not sound as good, but it's really cool.
Ross didn't turn back around to Gabe until Kane and Magna walked down the dock and left his side as they climbed the stairs leading up to the house. But when he did, the fury and suspicion in Gabe's eyes were hard to miss. Nice-looking woman, he commented casually. I don't think I've ever seen her around here before. Gabe's jaw tightened. That's because she's not from this area, he retorted, before jerking his head toward the net. Is it your net or not? The tag that's supposed to be on it is gone. Ross walked over and touched the net with the toe of his boot. He could see some of the old patches he had done on it. It was the one he had cut loose the other morning. His mind wasn't on the net, though. It was on the woman. She was definitely the one he had seen underwater.
And that gives you an example of what I listen to. And even now, I was like, visually, I was there with them. I could see, Gabe talking to Ross, and, Ross, his eye on Magna and going over and touching the net with his foot. It's not near as good as Paul, but it's a way for me to know, am I getting lost in the story? Jarman needs more than that. Maybe a 2x4 and a fire hose. Karen, you're going to get me arrested is what you're going to do. And then I'm not going to let me have a computer in my prison cell. I think the text-to-speech trick is the best way to gauge the flow of your story as well. And it helps me know, am I missing this word? I'm bad about sometimes I'll be thinking one word. And, for example, meant. I'll say meant when I meant to say mention, or I'll just twist words around, and you just don't, or you say the same word over and over and over. So that's one of the things that also helps me kind of pick up. If I can visually see it, but it's not real clear, I can sometimes just tweak it a little bit, and then it's like the whole scene pops for me, and I'm in this room that's three-dimensional. Jesse, those two Frenchmen need to find a few loose screws. It's funny, I may end up writing their story because they're just such fascinating characters. I can't, it's like, okay, do you write their story or you do not write their story? Linda Levy says, they will have you reading your books to the inmates. Well, either that or I'll be teaching them creative writing. Text-to-speech is definitely, it's just like being on a holodeck, you know, because it does bring everything together. Oh, yeah, you don't want to see my handwriting. My handwriting has gotten atrocious, especially since I broke my arms. I mean, it's even worse. Well, I kept everybody on for way longer than I planned on tonight, and I heard my hubby come home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wish everyone a wonderful evening, and I hope you have a marvelous, marvelous weekend. Be careful, be safe, and please, if you can, share my books with everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.